It takes me a minute to respond, my mind still distracted by the familiar melody of Lily's humming that's hardly left my ears in the several days it's been since I fell asleep to it. Oh yeah, just returning some books I borrowed. She cast her eyes downwards, presumably to the bin the books dropped into. You're a very heavy reader, aren't you? It's become a bit of a routine now. Passes the time, at least. I wish I had free time to pass. From small talk to depression in less than 5 seconds. I think that's a new record for her. She seems a bit down in general today, even compared to normal. Considering she has to work 2 jobs just to support herself, I could see how that would take a toll on her lifestyle. Come to think of it, the pay for a job here can't be all that bad. The idea of staff for such a prestigious private school going hungry strikes me as counterintuitive. Working 2 jobs must take a lot of time. I'd probably never manage it. You're lucky being a student. Do you think you'll be able to go to university? If she's asking, then I guess that's the expected result of having this kind of education. Private schools like this don't exactly come cheap. I guess I have the money, I think. I've got plans which will require going to one, and my marks are good enough. It's more a matter of how I'll pay to do so. You know, when it comes to university, it's like, when I hear about people's experience with university, it's stress. You're paying for stress. Sure, you're getting an education out of it, but then a lot of people that graduate from university have to take years just to get a decent job, because even with that, you can't find a good job, right? So really, it would, for the first few years after that, unless you somehow strike luck and get the job you were looking for after that and all that, then it's just like, I went through years of fucking stress. Oh, goddamn stress, and I had to pay for it. What the fuck? Lord, it cost me so, I hear, people that just, are in debt simply from having to pay that shit. It's insane, man. It's and imagine how it must feel like. You, pay a shit ton of money to go to university, and so much money has gone into it that even once you graduate from it, you're still paying for it. And you have to have all that stress put on you from the university to do all this, various freaking shit you gotta do here and there, and then you don't get the job you want at the end of all that. And even if you did get the job at the end of all that, you probably still have stress because work is stressful. Just sure, you might enjoy it, but eventually you're gonna have days where you just be like, oh, fucking hell, give me a break here. I know. I mean, look at her, man. Working 2 jobs and got university as well. No wonder why she's so depressed. When she doesn't, well, she does show it, but never to an extreme extent. It's just I don't know. But yeah, university sounds like a big pain in the ass. Anyways. University costs so much that I'm having to work 2 jobs to afford to enter it. Paying for daily expenses too makes it a lot harder. If you're reading this much though, that means you're doing well in school, right? Interesting logical jump. Not an altogether wrong one, though. I suppose so. I didn't find any of the exams very hard, aside from maybe 1 or 2. I mean, what is university like? Like I said, I go to college, but it's not in the way that I hear other people going to college. I just go there, just to do the Japanese course, just an online course. I'm not, in any classes or anything, essentially. Just, I haven't quite got to that point where just, look more into, courses that involve more of that and all that. So I don't really understand that all that much, and, with my social anxiety, big classes and all that, and, see, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, my knowledge of, that is mostly based on movies, honestly, where they have, a big hall, loads of students, and you got someone right at the bottom. It's okay, today's lecture will be this. We're gonna have this absurdly big blackboard. We're gonna write a lot of shit on it. We might even need ladders and shit. Or the old story of, okay, here's a lot of stuff, right? We're gonna teach you all this. Next week there's gonna be a test that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're learning today. You okay with this? Good. Let's carry on, man. I think I've had that exact thing happen to me with some of my online courses. Just okay, we're gonna teach you this in this online course here, then we're gonna test you on something that we haven't even told you about. In fact, that happened in the Japanese course. It gave me more than half of the hiragana alphabet, It's a good thing I've got an actual Japanese dictionary and this other kind of learned Japanese thing I had from years back. Because otherwise I wouldn't know all the characters to it. And it didn't show the katakana one. And then it just throws katakana in there randomly. It's just like, okay, translate this, bitch. Just like you haven't even given me that. But ha ha ha. I was able to write it down because I actually researched this shit. Ha ha ha. Still a pain in the ass, though. I mean, how the hell was I supposed to know unless I'd wrote that down from a different source? It didn't even freaking go like that. It's like some of like the words would be in katakana that I'd be learning and all that, but it doesn't like point it out. It's just like, oh, you have to do your own research if you want to understand this. Anyway, I'm rambling. I suppose so. I didn't find any of the exams very hard, aside from maybe one or two. Mind if I ask what studies you're pursuing in university? Yuuko appears to generally brighten at the question.
Anthropology, to be specific. I'm specialized in the history of classical era Finnian civilization and democracy.
She really seems to know her stuff. Such enthusiasm is to be admired. It's nice to see her generally excited about something. I guess even somebody like Yuuko can be happy if she has a visible road ahead of her. That's good to hear if you... Both of us jump at a sudden interruption coming from my pockets. From your pocket? That sounds like a, a wall phone or, like a house phone or some shit or an office phone. That does not sound like a freaking mobile phone. It's like bring, 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 bring. Apologizing profusely and quickly shuffling into the hallway as I fumble with the cover of my mobile phone. I glance at the screen. You know what? When it comes to ringtones, everyone's got their own ringtones. Like, my ringtone when someone calls me is essentially, Little Busters, the visual novel. Maybe it was even used in the anime, but I haven't actually seen it. But there's, like, one point in it where Kyosuke is, like, testing Rin's social skills. And for each kind of thing, he, like, has a different ringtone for each success or fail. And the final success has this kind of guitar thing, and I use that as my ringtone. And as you've heard in some of my videos here and there, my alarm is Yuuko. And what other alarm have I got? I think my ringtone for text is silent. I keep it that way because I just know. I could be outside and someone could text me and then suddenly loud noise. I just like thinking, like, I watch Botchamania and like this freaking thing, reoccurring thing with the Iron Sheik always in the intro and outro where he's like, fuck! In this kind of specific way, just like, imagine having that as a ringtone. It's just like, you're out in public, it's quiet, surprisingly, despite loads of people being there, and then, fuck! Maybe you're on a train or something, and then suddenly, fucking bullshit! It's like, what? Everyone turned their heads. Or in school, or in an important meeting, it's like, whoops, should have put that on silent. You're just like, fucking bullshit indeed. Apologizing profusely and quickly shuffling into the hallway as I fumble with the cover of my mobile phone, I glance at the screen. That's weird, really. It's like, looking back at like Canon and Clannad, for example, they didn't even freaking have mobile phones in those visual novels. I think Tomoya had one at some point, but he was like, what on earth is this contraption? Just like, I've never seen such a thing before. It's like, god damn it, Tomoya. Get with the times, man. And you're in Japan. It's supposed to be technologically advanced even when that freaking visual novel was made. I mean, come on. Anyways, weird. It's a mobile number I don't recognize, considering I can count the number of people with my number on one hand. I briefly wonder whether it's some telemarketer that's lucked out. Hello, Hisao and Yuuko speaking. Jeez, pick up faster next time. Anyway, guess who? Oh, I think it might be Akira. It only takes me a second to recognize the distinctly deep, brusque voice. Oh wait, no, it's Misha. Okay, I got it wrong. I don't know why. Does Misha even have his number? Wouldn't he put... I don't know. Hey, Misha, didn't expect you to call me. Let's redo that then. You gotta do it in Misha's voice. I hate when it does that, because you can't freaking figure it out until they say it, you know? Text...
Jeez, pick up fast next time. Anyway, guess who?
I mean, her voice is very distinct, isn't it? The one I've given her, anyway. Oh, wait. Oh, it was Akira. I was spot on. Huh? You actually thought I think I sound like her. Not at all, Akira. I don't remember giving you my number, though, so I thought I'd mess with you. I was right! You threw me off there, Sal. You threw me off, you son of a bitch. Oh, Dad, I got Lilly to give it to me. Not hard. She positively brims with pride at the statement. She's trying to get me caught up in her face. I know it. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that the two will share my number, though, given how close they are. So, what's up? You're free right now. I guess. Why? Could you meet me at the park in town? I just want to talk to you about some stuff. Is that an invitation to a date? What? Of course not. She sounds suddenly crestfallen, her previous teasing nature having instantaneously left. It seems strange for her. Anyway, I don't see why not. When do you want to meet? Kind of nowish. Wait, right now, but it's... The dead silence suddenly coming from the phone and answer the fact that she has unceremoniously hung up. Don't you just hate that? I'm not sure if I've ever experienced that, but imagine that! It's just like, oh, you son of a bitch, you can't even freaking, like, ask any further on that. It's like, son of a bitch, hang up on me. It's just like a way to just be like, nope, I'm not going to explain anything more. For a long time, I just stand there staring at the call ended message on the screen while replaying the conversation in my head. What the hell, Akira? Throwing a glance up and down the street, I crossed the road and stepped into the park. I've learned to pace myself on such walks, mostly because Lily's slower speed during our forays into town means I have to consciously slow myself down. That aside, I hope Akira didn't expect me to be immediately prompt. CG! I was about to say it's her first CG, but it isn't technically. Oh wait, she does have breasts, look! She's kind of small breasts, but just like, oh, that's the first thing you notice? But I think it's the first CG we've seen of her in her suit, I think, maybe, I don't know. Well, technically there was that time when she was driving the car, but I think she didn't have her suit fully on, I don't know. Takes only a couple of seconds to spot her waiting on a bench with a can of beer in her hand. I was just about to say, I was just like, a can of beer, but I was like, oh, of course. You just, I don't really, like, when people, well, I don't drink alcohol in general, but, like, when people ask for, like, have a can, they don't say a can of beer, that I've heard, you know. Usually it's just a brand name, but what is that? Esporo Classic, or something, I don't know. That's probably not even a real brand. I don't know, just assuming. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know much about alcohol. The look she gives me as I walk up lacks any hint of acknowledgement or greeting. What's with that look? I needn't have come, you know. I knew you would. You're that kind of person, after all. I lower my brow at her remark as she disposes of the can, emptied by the time I arrived, and a metallic clatter rings out. Akira takes a seat on the old wooden bench, and I follow her lead. She takes another can of beer from beside her and opens it before speaking, taking a large gulp. She seems to really like that stuff. Now, is it frowned upon to drink alcohol, you know, out in public, especially in broad daylight? Like at a park and stuff like that? I don't know. I suppose I don't need to ask what this is about, or rather who it's about. I heard from Lilly that you asked about our family. They share more than phone numbers, that's for sure. I'd probably be more worried right now if it weren't for the total lack of malice in her voice. While her tone sounds almost wistful. Idle curiosity, mostly. I have to admit, I'd have never guessed you two were half Scottish. She gives a wry chuckle of amusement. I've heard that before, trust me. A small smile falls from her face, her eyes looking ahead distantly. Aside from the occasional elderly couple talking as they slowly walk the mid-ring paths and the odd aging car, it's pleasantly quiet. She didn't tell you everything though, did she? It was pretty brief. Your parents live in Scotland, she hasn't met them since she was 12 and she wants to meet them again. So it surprised me how devoted she is to our parents, all the good they did us. The way she says it sounds almost derisive. She gives a small sigh as if to quickly brush the feelings away. Why do you think they left us, Al? Why do I think they left? From what Lilly told me, it was because of work. I guess a pretty decently paying job was involved as well, given the way your parents seem to live. So Lily went to a private school, and that's why she carries herself with the airs and graces of the upper class. Yeah, since the business in Inverness boomed, our father decided to move directly to the same city as its headquarters. That's just a conclusion I'd thought you'd come to, though. You're too good-natured. You don't think they left for their career? I'm sitting here bitching to you about it. What do you think? Yuuko Academy, I've always felt that place was kind of creepy, like it was an isolated hideaway for those proper society doesn't want to see nor hear. It probably just rue the fact that Lily wasn't old enough to be shoved there by the time they left. The long silence follows her abrupt and very harsh criticism of her own parents and Yuuko. Lily's blindness is hardly something that could be simply ignored for a high-class family attempt to keep up appearances, much less so when a lucrative offer is on the table. Eventually, Akira gives a derisive snort, her feelings coming to a head. Moving to secure our financial future with his new job posting, even at the time I hardly believed it. Not wanting to simply be an avenue for her venting, I gently tried to steer the discussion. So you stayed in Japan with Lily then? Ella stayed with her or she went to live with an ailing grandmother and grandfather. What about Zuna's family? Your cousins then? Our fathers hate each other. I'd have been more than happy to tell them to go screw themselves and live with them anyway. Lily wouldn't have wanted that. Also, I've had an offer for a job by them, so we did our best to keep our parents' house in proper shape, try to continue our lives as if they never had left. So you just live by yourselves? Basically, Lily had school and I had my job, so we weren't exactly languishing. We weren't schooling or studying and having to do chores while I worked though. I can't help feeling like I failed her. In the end, I tried to be there for her and screwed it up. Spent a 19-year-old to be a mother for a blind child. It's ridiculous. So Lily and Akira lived alone after their parents moved, with Lily largely taking care of herself. I guess that explains her apparent independence compared to Many and Yuuko. They have lived alone much of the time since my parents both worked, but that's just something else entirely. Sorry for making a listen to my moaning, Sal. I don't mind at all, but mind if I ask why you're telling me all this? You always were curious. Context, I suppose. Life isn't a fairy tale, Sal. Some people have to learn that the hard way. She takes a long drink from the can in her hand, her face becoming more depressed and distant. I broke up with my boyfriend a few days ago. After I left, we're not going to be able to see each other again. But that's how life is. You can't just set your life up and expect it to stay that way forever. Sometimes stuff happens that you have to roll with, even if it means hurting yourself or others. She takes a long breath before looking up at the bright orange sky. Damn, if I smoked I could take a nice long drag right about now and look kinda cool. I want to respond to help her in whatever way I can, but I feel utterly useless. This kind of situation is one I've never been in, and I simply don't have the experience to say anything meaningful to comfort her. Akira looks over and evidently picks up on this, much to my embarrassment. I must look pretty pathetic right now. When about is someone I barely know? Hardly, and I'm pretty much an expert on looking pathetic. She gives a chuckle, the act feeling like a personal victory for me. You're a good kid, Hisao. When I said I approved of you being with my sister, I wasn't joking about just being nice. She picks herself up off the seat with a grunt, one that seems ill-fitting, given her age, and throws the now empty can into the bin after one last week. It's just unfortunate that doesn't really count for much in this world. When I said that I was leaving for Scotland, I was doing it because a good position opened up in our company's headquarters. When our folks told me that when we were at that place, though, they also gave Lily a summons to rejoin them in Inverness. No way. Her evasiveness when asked about her future, that awkwardness that had steadily grown between us, that uncharacteristic outburst of anger. Oh, shit! All of them suddenly fit into place. I knew it! I knew it had something to do with her sister, but I didn't at the same time. I did not know that it was to do with moving back to Scotland. The same family that she reminisced about after Hanukkah's birthday party. The same family that left her and Akira to themselves after taking flight to greener pastures. Now I feel stupid for never concerning Lily on what was bugging her. Wondering, I mean. I never even considered if something had happened during a trip to her family's home at Inverness. And now, a sense of unease grows in my chest. Her family has summoned her to join them in Scotland, all the way on the other side of the earth. Is she accepting that? Lilly hasn't told me when she plans to accept, and it seems she hasn't told you either. That's why I called you down here to talk us out. Context, huh? I sit back, my feeling of worry and frustration no doubt written all over my face. Lily's a strong person, Hisao, but she's not infallible. I guess it's my job to worry about her, being her older sister, but I think that you deserve to know. I understand. You okay? You sound depressed. No, I'm just thinking. That's good, thinking's good. Being rash won't get you anywhere. She looks at her watch, barely moving her wrist. I've got to go. Will you be okay? I'll be fine, don't worry. I have to talk to Lilly about it and get everything sorted out. She gives a smile, but doesn't feel a lot genuine or sincere. Oh, I get where this is going now. It's gonna be like, this kind of tied between that, isn't it? It's like either her sister moves to Scotland and she barely will see her sister again, probably, if for like long amounts of time, or she splits up with Sal and moves back to Scotland so she can be with her sister at all times. Ooh. She gives a smile, but doesn't feel all that genuine or sincere. Really, both of us are dancing around the fact that Lily is on the precipice of the biggest decision of her life and is trying to take the entire burden on herself. And part of that burden is the matter of our relationship. By the time I look up, Akira is already walking off with her hand held up. For the first time in a long while, I finally have an answer to something. Perhaps not even that, but at least I now have the right question to ask. Will you leave or stay? Will you stay or will you go? That's not how the lyrics go, but I shouldn't really joke at that. Katawa Shoujo. Actually, that does say Shoujo. I've seen it somewhere else. Those two characters put together. Alright, Lilly.
I'm moving as fast as I can.
Again! This freaking grout loves to throw us in the scenes. Context. Like in that scene. Context is important. But we don't get context until partway through a scene that we're already partway through because they on-screen the beginning of it. I can barely make out Lily's voice of the deafening pounding of the rain, even though I dislike fooling around. The situation calls for it. You know, this isn't going to end and this is probably going to end bittersweet, I imagine, because they are going for the neutral ending first. I turn forward, my free hand over my head in a futile attempt to keep at least my hair dry. My vision seems to be in grayscale. This really is rotten well for summer, and the last kind of climate I'd want for a date. Now this, yeah, the rain is depressing. The fact that she's probably going to move to Scotland and have to split up with Hisao is depressing. But you know what? This type of weather, this is common in the UK. And I imagine it's even more common in Scotland since it's further up north. I pity I'd even checked the weather forecast beforehand, one of the very few times I've ever done so. Only for it to say that Sunday afternoon will be fine. Looking to Lily, her shoulders are by now completely drenched with her right hand holding tightly to mine and her left in her retracted cane. Does he at least, have an umbrella? Because her shoulders are probably going to be freezing. This horrid downpour came just as we were between our destination and Imaki, so we decided to try rushing the rest of the distance rather than doubling back. Entirely unused to running this fast, Lily's using all her concentration just to avoid tipping over.
So, do you know where we're going?
Even she's reduced to shouting to try and be heard of the combined noise of the wind and the rain. The rest of my voice is completely drowned out by an even heavier burst of rain. Oh, come on, I know rain can be loud, but if it was thunder and lightning, fair enough. If there's loads of cars going by, fair enough. But rain? No. Oh wait, no, there's wind as well, so okay, maybe.
The what?
The Shanghai.
How far is it?
It shouldn't be far now. I also checked this as well. I typed Shanghai into Google Translate at one point. I think it translated from Chinese rather than Japanese. But that does in fact say Shanghai, but I still don't know what Shanghai actually means. What's the meaning of that word? I don't know. Doesn't take long before I call out to her once again. Looks like we're safe. It's just up ahead. I quickly pull up to a stop just in front of the familiar exterior. The lantern outside still will give him off its reliable glow and wait for Lilly to catch her breath before going in. Ladies first. The tiny bell inside rings out when I hold the door open for her. I smile enough to lighten up being my reward before entering my cell. I go step in behind her and wipe my feet on a quick glance is necessary to notice the distant lack of activity. The Shanghai doesn't seem to get much in the way of patronage, and there is no difference when a couple tables are occupied. Summoned by the bells ringing, a most expected person comes to greet us.
Welcome to the Shanghai.
Yuuko looks chipper than me today. Trying to predict her moods is pretty hard. It's a nice change from the norm.
Hello, Yuuko.
Hey.
Good afternoon, you two.
She takes a deep bow, somewhat taken aback, as she rights herself again and gets a better look at us.
What happened to you? You both look...
Does she really need to know? I mean, can't she hear the rain? Her eyes drift towards the glass of the door behind us.
Oh dear.
We're inside now, at least. I think that's the most important thing.
It's nice and cozy. You're lucky to be working inside today. It has been nice and quiet. I like days like this. Oh wait, sorry. Is there anything you'd like? French vanilla tea, please.
I'll have some. The same, I mean.
Right, coming right up.
She quickly skitters off with a determined look on her face, trying very hard not to forget our orders. If nothing else, she is at least dedicated to her jobs. I lead Lilly to an empty seat before the two of us settle down. As usual, there's a large difference between my exhausted flopping down into my seat, Lily's delicate sliding into hers, her cane set beside her. For a while, I just idly watch the rain falling outside. The occasional person runs down the street trying to stay as dry as possible, hands often tightly gripping a rain-soaked umbrella. Lily sits just as quietly as I, her eyes closed as she intently listens to all that's happening. It's a comfortable, relaxing silence that exists between us, just the type that we so often shared together in the past months. For Lily, at least. I can't help replaying the words of her sister in my mind, at times contrasting them to both our time spent together since I entered Yumaku, and to the way we've been since we started dating. No matter how much I try, I can't work Lily out. It's as if the harder I try to second-guess her emotions and her potential decision, the more difficult it becomes to reach a clear conclusion. It makes me doubt whether I'd ever really understood her. In the end, I'm going to have to ask, even though I very much want to avoid doing so.
You seem quiet today, Hisao.
Really?
You seem so enthusiastic about taking me out on a date. I'd assumed you had something specific you wanted to do.
You know, have they been on a date since, you know, the fancy restaurant? I don't know if they said what name the fancy restaurant had. But if that's the case, it's like Hisao, you could not have picked like a more anticlimactic location. Well, could have. It's like, okay, Lily, we got on a date to the regular tea room in the class. Or actually, I don't even think it was a classroom, was it? It might have been. Was there a classroom they used, or just like some storeroom or something? I don't know. No, not really. Just wanted to spend some time with you. What? What? Look, put me back. Hold on. I can't. Wait. Oh, I see. It's just like there are things at the bottom there. It's like, where'd the freaking Camtasia recording go? And it's like, oh, it's because I have to open this up again because the freaking novel crashed. What the freaking hell? Well, that has happened before, but not when recording. That was bullshit. Even though I want to check something. No, not cinema. Wrong one. Oh, it's Akira. That's the CG that goes there. Okay. A bit unexpected. I thought that CG would be, you know, closer to Lily's one, you know. It's kind of weird to have her CG right there. Okay, though. You know, let's have a look at library. We're at 97%. So how many scenes have we got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on the faraway future, right? So at least one of these scenes is gonna lead into a neutral ending, and the other ones are gonna lead into the good ending. So we haven't really got much of the rap left. Of course, I'm gonna have to skip through, you know, the scenes we just went through essentially in this recording. What a pisser. So I'll load this. I will off screen and meet you back at where we left off before the game crashed, the novel crashed. So, a moment or so. Halt! Okay, where are we? Blah 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 blah. No. I think this is where we... No. Is that so? Fine, there was one thing. Okay, now we're back to the points. A little grin finds its way onto Lily's face, her knowing full well that she's bested me. It makes what I want to say all the more awkward. It was just, Akira and I were talking.
Oh,
What's with that tone?
you two do seem to get on well, don't you?
Well, I do think she's a pretty cool person to talk with. It'd be nice if any of the teachers were anything like her.
Cool.
For a moment I try to place her tone of voice, my mouth curling into a smirk as I realize it. You're not jealous, are you?
I'm not jealous.
After her teasing me over such a thing on our first date, I don't feel too bad having a little laugh at her expense this time around. As we settle down though, it's only a minor distraction from the real point of why I brought Lily here. Don't worry, it was mostly just everyday stuff. That said, there was something Akira mentioned that I want to talk to you about. When you went to see your family in Inverness a while back, she said,
Akira told you about my family summons, hasn't she?
Seconds tick by while I try to read Lily's face. An odd mixture of feelings written on it. She seems annoyed, but also somewhat confused. I like how they keep the rain in the background, it adds to the moods.
Here.
Yuuko tentatively slides our drinks onto the table, her presence oddly small. As she walks back to the counter after a quick polite nod, I realize the air between me and Lily is thick, and our expressions are both somewhat pensive.
Even though she says I should lead my own life, she still interferes at the worst times.
I don't think you should blame Akira here. She's just looking out for you, and it's not like I can't understand her concern over this. Lily's irritation gives way to an awkward and largely unsuccessful attempt to mask her feelings. She really doesn't deal well with being cornered on personal topics.
I know, but I just wanted some more time. I knew you'd have figured it out eventually, but...
You were intentionally hiding this from me. For how long were you planning to do so?
As I said, I simply wanted more time to think it through. Wanted to be sure of my decision before telling you.
What did you decide to do in the end? I know what I want to say, but an awful feeling refuses to leave my guts.
My family does dearly want me to return to them. Akira will be going as well. I could still teach the career, whether it be here or there.
So you're going. You know what? This English teacher, right? But English teacher in what way? Like, I mean, like over here we have, you know, English, you know, as a subject. But like in foreign countries, it seems like, I don't know how to describe it. It's what it becomes like a secondary language kind of thing, really, doesn't it? Why it's more of a main language in English-speaking countries. But there's obviously more to the language than just, you know, being able to speak it and read. How long have you known? I know you were asked when you first went to Scotland about a month ago.
Some time.
My frustration very nearly boils over. The fact that she's done this affects me more than it should. For her to not only be living, but to have been actively hiding her own plans from me. Right? And after seeming for so long to be the one solid pillar of support and reliability I could depend on. You know, that really is quite something, if you think about it. This was before they even went to Hokkaido and all that. That's quite a big, you know, amount of time that she's been hiding that. I feel as if the foundation underneath me is suddenly shifting drastically. much faster than I can adapt to. Perhaps this isn't so much frustration as sheer unease. Lily.
I'm sorry, I wanted to think this through completely. I wasn't trying to take advantage of you, please.
I know, Lily, I know, this is just really sudden. I guess this means that once you go, we'll be breaking up. What about Hanako? I mean, sure, she's got a kind of new circle of friends going, so that probably added to her reason, isn't it? It's like, now that she probably feels Hanako doesn't need her around all the time, that probably, like, made it easier for her to make a choice, and the only other obstacle would be a sound. For one of the few times I've ever since I met her, she's generally lost for words. She doesn't look surprised, no doubt because the fact had dawned on her once she became sure of her decision, but rather she appears generally unsure of how to deal with the situation now that it's in front of her.
We could try pursuing a long-distance relationship. They're getting more and more common these days, after all.
Even though she says it, the tone of her voice gives away that she doesn't truly believe what she's saying. Lily is far too old-fashioned to be able to cope with a relationship without any kind of physical presence, and even I am to an extent. All we would ever be able to be to each other would be a voice from the other side of the world. When was this visual novel made? Was Skype and stuff like that around back then? In the end, trying to rationalize everything is futile. Any attempts to try and connect what's happening with the future or past just seems to get more difficult the more I concentrate. And that really is long distance, like, just like say like a relationship, it's just like, there's a bit of distance, but it's not far distance. You could like meet up, every maybe 2-3 times a month or something like that, or maybe something like that. But with this, from Scotland to Japan, that would be like maybe twice a year at most, probably. Because that would be expensive and quite a distance to travel. So yeah, that would be an even harder one to deal with. Those quiet moments when we just walked side by side. The precious time we spent with Hanako and Akira. The casual chat we had during lunchtimes. The times we made love. The confessions of our feelings to each other. All pointless. All just a fleeting moment in our young lives. We're just two children pretending to be adults, aren't we? And a long, long silence hangs in the air between us. The noise of the other patrons drinking and talking only makes the situation feel more strange and disconnected. Lily's face remains low, her dejected expression clouded.
I'm sorry, Hisao.
A simple apology and no more. She's left entirely without any further response or comment. With a long sigh, I gather what's left of my thoughts and ask the final question I have for her. When will you be going?
I'll be leaving with Akira, so it'll be a little less than a week.
The beginning of summer holidays.
Just a little afterward, yes.
Her tone is unusually slow and steady. Apologetic and depressed mood all the more written to her face as she tries to hide it in her voice. In the end, I can't even keep my promise of going to Tanabata with her before she leaves. Going back to that, CG, I look down and see my face reflected in the by now lukewarm cup of neglected tea sitting in front of me. I really thought I'd left this kind of expression behind. For a while I just stared down into the still surface, trying to sort through my emotions to get at what course of action I should take, whether it be right now or in the future. But just as before, the effort is wasted. I glance up to see Lily gently sipping her cool tea without complaint, her face drawn and shoulders slumped. She looks to be deep in thought too, a strangely cold atmosphere coming between us as we isolate ourselves to mull things over. Even as Lily's cup slowly empties, mine remains untouched. It's a long time before I notice the rain dying down outside, and a few other patrons of the Shanghai having left. The chill of the rapidly darkening evening permits the dormitory hallways. While trudging down the corridor to my room, I see an unwelcome movement from up ahead. Sure enough, the opening of the door opposite mine heralds the arrival of the bespectacled old Kenji. Hey man, what's... Whoa dude, you look awful, I think. You okay? It really has a knack for making any situation better. I don't really want to go into it, it's late. Oh yeah, that's cool. If you ever want to talk about it, here. I look at him for a moment before surrendering my stern front and awkwardly scratching the back of my neck, embarrassed by my standoffish response to him. Thanks, Genji. Yeah, it's cool, that's what friends are for, right? Yeah, you're right, see ya. Well, I feel like we see a different side of Kenji quite, well, not all the time, but we do see, like, parts of his personality that we don't see often like that. I open the door to my own dormitory room and close it behind me as he quickly waves me off. Man, you slammed that door. A solid thud the door makes against the door frame sounds out a final call to the life I've led since coming to Yamaku. I just stand in my darkened room, fruitlessly attempted to work out what I could do from this point onwards. Hello, darkness, my old friend. No. Well, it does feel like that would fit the mood, wouldn't it? Guess what should I do? Cheerful music, passage of time. Feels so out of nowhere with that.